All right. I hope I don't sound too rusty. I just wanted to come back and make my first video about the Packers this 2024 season. With the first of month football is pretty much be a wrap after tonight's game. Just wanted to just let you guys know what I'm thinking about what this team is right now, where we might be possibly going, etc., etc. So unfortunately, Green Packers are 2-2 after losing their first divisional game against Minnesota Vikings, 31-29. And there's a lot of things that we could take away from this game, both bad and good things. It's a lot of the bad things that we could take away from this game is definitely the mistakes. The Packers, the biggest problem with the Packers right now is definitely the fact that they just simply cannot get out of their own way. The Packers are constantly shooting themselves in the foot by committing so many penalties. We're once again one of the most penalized teams in the football league, and I was really hoping that Matt and the coaches would help clean that up so there wouldn't be an issue this season, but unfortunately it still is. So that's one thing. We're still committing so many penalties. We missed 2 field goals in this game. The Packers, Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions. Tucker Kraft had a fumble. So many goddamn mistakes by this Packers offense, and yet we still only managed to lose by 2 points. So just keep try to keep that in mind. Think about how differently this game could have played out had the Packers not shot themselves in the foot so many times. I do still want to give credit to Minnesota Vikings. At the end of the day, a win is a win, especially against a division rival. And right now they are 4-0 after beating 3 good teams and Giants on their way to undefeated record so far. It's unfortunate because I definitely think we could have definitely been the team to knock them off. Especially even though, granted, even Jordan Love was coming back for the first time since injuring his knee in week 1. And I think a lot of people out here can probably argue that maybe Jordan Love didn't need to come back so quickly. And maybe we could have just rested him for maybe another couple of weeks. But Jordan Love, he cleared them. He wanted to play. He could clearly see he wanted to be out there. And I'm not too mad that he played this football game, because I do think that ultimately he was our best chance to win. But you still can argue that a lot of mistakes that Jordan Love made, especially as in the process of trying to knock off all the rust, he was definitely throwing a lot of bad balls out there. A lot of passes he was making were just completely inaccurate. They didn't have the right precision on them, and the receivers were having a tough time catching the passes from him. Some passes he was definitely throwing in there, and the receivers could have definitely helped him out by catching some of these passes. Romeo Doubs did not have a good game with a lot of drops he had. He had some drops. Dontavian Wicks had a lot of drops on his targets. Jaden Reed was the only consistent wide receiver out there, who, to me, at this point, should be no question he's our best wide receiver. Every time he gets the ball in his hands, he's picking up big play. He's making big plays, and he's picking up a bunch of yards. So the Packers definitely need to always make sure this guy gets the ball more often than not each week. Christian Watson, unfortunately, got injured in this football game, which sucks for him, but it definitely wasn't his fault this time around, as Jordan Love he got injured after Jordan Love's first interception, which he never should have thrown. That ball was just thrown into so much traffic with so many Vikings defenders around it that caused Christian Watson to get hurt in the process trying to make a play. So that's not on him, but I definitely feel bad that he got injured, unfortunately. When I hope he can manage to come back more sooner than later. As far as Jordan Love himself goes, Matt LaFleur definitely was not doing him any favors by once again trying to put this game on his back, and I really hate when Matt LaFleur does that. Now, a lot of people can say, well, we were down 28-0, so we had no choice but to keep throwing the football. But the thing is, the Vikings most likely wouldn't have been able to run up the scoreboard as quickly as they did had we not been forcing the ball down the field as much as we were early in the game. Before the game even got out of reach, you can clearly see that Matt LaFleur was starting to quickly get away from the run. He wasn't trying to feed Josh Jacobs the rock. And, Josh Jacobs in general just is really struggling to even get out there on a lot of snaps, and I don't know why. I hope that eventually it gets cleaned up, and so because we paid this guy a lot of money to come to Green Bay and we're not utilizing him, and it makes absolutely no sense. But you can see that, like I said, you can see that Matt was definitely getting away from the run game early, and he was making Jordan Love drop back the pass too many times, and your starting quarterback is just coming back from a sprained knee, MCL sprain, and you're making him throw the ball this many times. Why? I just can't figure that out, man. I just can't figure it out. And because Jordan Love threw 2 really bad interceptions to start the game, it easily helped the Vikings capitalize and score 14 points off that. So, arguably, again, like I said, the Vikings probably wouldn't have ran up the score as quickly as they did in the first half had those interceptions not have taken place. Had we have not been trying to throw the ball so much. So it's on Matt LaFleur and it's on Jordan Love. It's on both of them. Jordan Love in his first game back definitely wasn't getting a whole lot of help from his coach, Matt LaFleur, since unfortunately he had to start playing hero ball. And when Jordan Love has to play hero ball, a lot of mistakes are going to happen, which was one of the reasons why he ended up throwing 3 interceptions. But I don't want to go too hard on Jordan Love because I know he was out there playing injured, and he wasn't getting a lot of help from his guys, from his wide receivers dropping passes. The offensive line struggling to protect him. He got hit a lot. Jordan Love was just getting his ass kicked. But he stayed in that game. I give him that. He stayed in the game, and he still finished with 4 touchdown passes to go with those 3 picks. So we at least take some good from that. And then one of the best positive things you can take from this game is that once again you can see the potential of this Packers offense when everything is clicking. When things are clicking, to me, the Packers compete in anybody in this league. And going up against the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, to put up that many yards against them, especially in the second half, was damn near impressive. It was damn near impressive despite all the mistakes the Packers were making, all the drops, the penalties, everything. And they still moved the ball fairly well against the Vikings, even in the first half before some of those interceptions. So we could definitely take some positives away from that. And again, had a lot of those mistakes not been happening, we could have most likely won that football game. But Jordan Love can't do everything by himself. He definitely needs the compliments from his run game. And I'm very disappointed in Matt LaFleur and how he quickly got away from the run. And he's not been feeding Josh Jacobs the ball enough. We paid this guy a lot of money to come to Green Bay and run the football for us. And you're not giving him the ball for whatever reason. I can't figure that part out. I can't figure it out at all. And the Vikings most likely would not have been able to run up the scoreboard as quickly as they did had we not abandoned that as quickly as we did. Because it worked the last 2 weeks when Malik Willis was starting at quarterback. We ran the football. We didn't make too many we didn't try to be pass happy. But with Jordan Love back, obviously all that freaking changed. Now, as far as the defense goes, I'm not really sure what exactly Jeff Hafley's plan was in the first half, because I definitely think he was playing way too soft in his scheme, and he was relying on those guys on the defensive front way too much. I'm sorry, those guys up front, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, they did not play well. They did not play well at all, and they could not generate pressure against this Vikings offensive line that isn't that good, by the way. That isn't really that good. Their offensive line has struggled, especially up in the middle. Yet for some reason, Kenny Clark and those guys just could not be found yesterday. And the only time that we got any pressure on Sam Darnold is when Jeff Hafley finally decided to send more guys and blitz him. Other than that, those standard rushing 4 guys was not working. None of those guys can get home. Rashawn Gary has just completely fallen off a cliff. This guy cannot make an impact on the football field whatsoever. And it's definitely one of the most disappointing things about our defense this year. One of the best things about our defense is the fact our defense has been able to create turnovers, especially with the addition to Xavier McKinney, which is great. 4 interceptions in 4 straight games. That's all fine and dandy, but then your defensive line is not helping you out and leaving you guys out there on the island because they're unable to get pressure on their own. So all those guys on the defensive line, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, all those guys need to step it up. Because I was not impressed by them. They need to step it up and they need to play better. Because unfortunately we had to sit back and watch the Vikings early in the game convert so many third and longs because Sam Darnold was just sitting back there just having a picnic in the pocket because there was absolutely no pressure in his face whatsoever. Especially with the depleted secondary, Valentine not out there, and Jair Alexander being injured out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming at all, but next thing you know, I'm looking at the injury report, and he's out for the game, and I'm just like, that's just all we need. and they're going up against one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and Justin Jefferson. You can't leave your cornerbacks. You can't leave these backup cornerbacks and Keyshawn Nixon out there on the island. You just can't do it. But I will give the defense credit by hanging in there and not allowing any more touchdowns in the second half and holding the Vikings to only 3 points and even getting that crucial fourth down stop. But eventually it was just too little, too late, and the Packers just couldn't do enough to get back and to get their first lead of the game, and possibly win. So yeah, that's pretty much how sums up how this game went down. And to me, I just think it just really put on display just about what type of team the Packers are so far. And as I said, the biggest thing to take away from this game is the fact that the Packers just cannot get out their own way. They are definitely their own worst enemy. And if the Packers want to get back to the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl, they got to cut out the mistakes. They got to cut the mistakes out. Do not have Jordan Love throwing the ball as much as he was yesterday. And you establish the run. The defense needs to get better, especially in the pass rush. It's one of my weakest spots on the defensive line right now. I think the worst part is the fact that the Packers still have not found any answer at kicker. And it's a shame. And it's a damn shame that the Green Bay Packers have really struggled to replace Mason Crosby more than they've struggled to replace Aaron Rodgers. And you would have asked any Packer fan, which guy would have been more harder to replace, I think 99.9% would have said Aaron Rodgers, who nobody would have thought that Mason Crosby would be this difficult to replace, but goddamn it, here we are. Our special teams, unfortunately, is going to continue to be our Achilles heel, with our new kicker missing 2 kicks early in the game, to where at that point we were just forced to go forward on 4th down every single time. So until they clean it up, and they either get rid of the guy or they find someone out there somewhere, kicking is just going to continue to be a problem in Green Bay. And it sucks because when you watch all these other football teams out here, they got kickers making field goals of 50 yards, 55 plus yards. You know, the Atlanta Falcons won the game on a 58-yard field goal. You got the Dallas Cowboys. Their kicker can just make a 60-yard plus field goals in his sleep. But then here we are in Green Bay, and we can't even make a field goal consistently from just 30 yards out or just a little bit over 40 yards out. It's just inexcusable. It's inexcusable that this football team just cannot find the answer at kicker. And it's just going to continue being an issue. And if they make the postseason, it's going to rear its ugly head just like it did last year. So, yeah, that's all I got so far, man. The Packers are 2-2. They deserve to be 2-2 because you're not gonna win games against good football teams, and you can't stop shooting your own self in the foot first. So yeah, we got the Rams. We got the Rams next week. We're gonna look forward to that. We're gonna talk about that. Until then, I'm out of here. Peace.